So this is the first ship you unlock, which is, sorry, this is the last ship you unlock at level 5, which is the Banshee. It's a support ship. The support ship, as you can see here, it has a mediocre amount of firepower. Right, it's a support ship, you know, you're supposed to be supporting, not killing. Just so happens that it's a byproduct of flying a support ship is sometimes you do get kills. I'll go more into that in a second. It has a great deal of speed. They are incredibly maneuverable. They're great for moving around. They're great for getting from one point to another quite quickly to go and help save your guys. It has a phaser. Now the phaser weapon system on these is a bit like what you get in the science fiction movies. It is very much a case of you look at your target, you fire the laser beam, and it does direct damage between you and your target. If you can keep your target fairly centered, it will slightly adjust and track your target as well. As you can see in the firepower range, it is not the most powerful thing in the world. You can normally help finish off targets with it. Any targets that are fleeing or you're pursuing for whatever reason, or even if you just want to assist the guy that you're flying alongside, you can normally finish them off with the phaser. This ship does have 2 upgrades.
Components. Maybe I can find them for you.
Which
For
is
some silver, of course.
increased armor and increased shield, just to kind of help you stay alive that little bit longer. The second thing on here is the head track buff beam. Now the head track buff beam, I will actually use the Banshee in my first game, so you'll be able to actually see some of these abilities as well. Now the head track buff beam, now quite literally as it says, it is head tracked and it is a buff beam. When you use it on an ally, you get a blue beam that projects from your ship to your ally, and what this blue beam does is it actually heals your target ship, as long as it's a friendly one. It will repair hull and it will repair shields. And what happens is you get a solid stream of like blue light while it's actually repairing, and then once your target is fully repaired, it goes from a solid beam to like a almost transparent beam. The next thing on here is spider bots. Now spider bots, I'll go into the offensive of the buff beam in a moment as well, but the assisting side of spider bots is basically, you'll see them in space again when I'm flying the ship. It's like a hexagon, almost like it's a web in space, funny enough, with spiders. And if an ally ship flies into it, they will see it as like a blue, it's almost spherical actually, in space. When they fly into it, they'll see on their screen literally some spider robots land on their canopy of their ship. If they've taken any shield damage, then they will have their shields repaired. It's important to note that, as far as I'm aware, I've never encountered them, but I could be wrong. The spider bots will only repair your shields. They will not repair your hull if you have taken hull damage and you fly into them. In terms of the offensive side of this ship, so the head track buff beam is actually a head track debuff beam against enemy targets. So when you're cycling through enemies with the head track buff beam, it will actually drain away the shields of your target. If you keep on them, you can stop their shields from regenerating if you literally pursue them around. Which comes in handy with like the phaser weapon system on this ship, because it does mean that you can constantly drain away their shields and then chip away at their hull or their armor with your phaser, and you will, if they keep running away from you and they don't turn and fight, they will die. Spider bots as well, whereas when they're for friendlies, they're a kind of blue sphere in space. When they're seen by enemies, they actually appear as a red sphere in space. Now, if your enemies do fly into it, the spider bots again will drop down. Instead of repairing, they will do damage to the enemy ship as well. So, even though it's a support ship, it does have a few offensive abilities, which, as the role says, you can support by healing, or you can support by aiding anyone that you're flying with. The other ship you unlock